Oh! Hello! Let's see, have we got anyone online? Greetings. Greetings, the tired techie, if you're still there. Tilo, hi! 140 characters if you try to invite people. That's true. But you can always do a picture and say that those 10 people are in that picture. I'm going to post, if anybody does want to share the stream, apparently there is a live link. And this is the live link there. Hey Jared! How are you, sir? Tanya? I'm just going to... I know my eyes are looking over here. That's because I'm focusing on the wrong thing. And look, got my gaming curtain up. It's flopping around there annoyingly. We're going to be doing a bit of Eagle CAD today. Eagle. Let's load it up. I think 511. Hey Thomas. Good to see you. It's begun. Another thing though, just a housekeeping. If you are on Discord, you can do a chat. So I'm going to join it now. Discord. And there we go. So if you're on Discord, you might be able to hear me. And you're welcome to have a go and try chatting back on that one. So today we're going to be working on the RetroNet. If you remember the RetroNet, it's these. Oh look, they're invisible, these ones, because they're green. But yes, it's these adapters that you plug into a computer, ye old-timey retro computer. In fact, these are actual real RetroNets that do work. There are quite a few of them in the wild now. I'm down to my last two actual cased units, but these are a V1, and there's a slight issue that prevents you plugging the V1 straight into your PC because there's a cock-up focus you feck here where the RX and TX pins aren't right. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be fixing that. So I'm just going to begin. Don't save. So the first things first, if you're doing a new project, so I've got this as the Booby RetroNet folder. And, oh hi Tanya, yes, pronounced as a Y. Thank you for joining us. I haven't seen your name before on the stream. So what you need to do is obviously make a V1 folder and a V2. And I always recommend doing this because this project was more or less packetized, bill of material, and there's even a manufacturing bundle zip file. So basically that is all the information you need to build a V1 booby board in its entirety. So we are up versioning now. So we're going to shift up. No. Almost just copy that into the wrong folder. And then I'm going to delete the manufacturing bundle. And that's it. We're going to open it up in Eagle. Now if you've got several copies of Eagle, you might have a little bit of difficulty convincing your computer to use the right one. So what I'm going to do is change the project folder within Eagle itself. Options, directories, and then you can just add your new project folder straight there. Put a semicolon and then add your new project folder in there, and hopefully it'll just appear. So we're going to look at the Booby RetroNet V2. There we go. Schematic. Invalid data. I'm having some difficulties, guys. I'm just hey Dan Waters, nice to see you, sir. Nice to see you on the stream. I'm just trying to, I know it's off to a slow start at the moment because I've got the booby board the RetroNet project here, and I'm trying to open it, and I literally have 3 versions of Eagle and I'm not sure which one will comply. So I'm going to try Eagle 7.7. Which says it doesn't like my key for some reason. Now, if you're an Eagle user, you might be able to tell me whether or not there's a way of seeing which version of Eagle your project's made for. So let's try the 5.11. Nope, that's not good. And then we're going to try the 5.9. Come on, Tilo, help me out here. You should be... is there a way I can shift this project into one of those crazy CADs you like to use? Okay, let's do it. Eagle CAD. I think this is becoming a tutorial on how to bloody install Eagle. Maybe you can't even install Eagle anymore. Free download. Yes, please. Windows. So this does seem to be a tutorial on how to use Eagle, because I've never used this version of Eagle. I've never used a version that Autodesk has sort of taken over, but I'm confident it won't be too difficult. So if you're playing it along at home, you can download Eagle, and I'd probably be posting the CAD for all these projects onto GitHub. I think there is a back office show. Yes, there is. And any source code, footprint. So there is some Eagle stuff there going on, but I can't tell you what version of Eagle that'll work in. So let's load up Eagle. So I remember back in the day when Eagle was pretty much a fresh bit of software. Come back. There we go. And we were all getting the student licenses because it was free. And now, though, it's this whole crazy thing with Autodesk where you've got to pay a monthly subscription. So I have to admit it has lost its gloss a little bit. And of course, my license was for Eagle version 5 or 7 or something, and no, I think it must have been version 5. And you just can't port it. You have to buy a new license with each major version. Fair enough, I suppose. They've got to make money. But I never really noticed any difference between the versions on Eagle. So Jared, I know you said your BRB, you're going to go away. We could have had a little game of Agario while we're waiting for this installation. So I want to just show you a few of these while we're going through the process. So some of these cases are 3D. Oh god, they're really bad because they're green. I should be able to turn off the chroma thing. But they were 3D prints, and eventually they became resin molds, silicone molds, and then they are resin over molded. So these are pretty much indestructible, these versions of the RetroNet. So if you ever get your hands on one of those, you know that's going to last forever, that thing, because it's basically a solid piece of plastic. Restart the computer? No, let's just go for it without restarting. Right, Autodesk Eagle. Okay. Boo! I'm just gonna create an account at Eagle. Password ABC123. Yes. Go. Oh, it disappeared. Okay, so I dragged that over to the other window, but it did disappear. Hopefully that means that Eagle is about to load. Oh yes, it did. Projects. Come on now. do it. Woohoo! Phew. So here we are, we've got our CAD, and I'm not taking up too much of the room here, but probably would have been better if my window, I'm just going to move my window so to over this side. That's weird. It's weird being in the bottom left corner. I'm not used to that. That's a strange scenario. So I'm just going to walk you through the major parts of the RetroNet. It's really simple, and actually in this version there were some things I was going to get rid of, but I might just get rid of them from the BOM. I might not remove them from the actual PCB because maybe you boys and girls at home might still like to keep those. So we'll start with the input. So the first thing we have here is a USB port for power, and we're just getting power coming in from the ground and the V-bus pins. Nothing too complicated about that. I should imagine that you know exactly what's going on there. So now you can see that the ground and 5-volt nets are connected over here, and they're going through this regulator, which is, says it's a reg 111117111117, but it's basically a 5-volt reg. In fact, I would quite like to see if we can see the part number. So this is actually the Farnell part numbers. It's just a SOT 223 package, low dropout LDO regulator. A couple of caps to ground, but nothing too ominous there. Here we have a reset switch all hooked up. It's just got a pull-up resistor, and you're pulling it to down when you push it, which is fine. We're using here a Max 3232 CSE, and I forget why this version was best, and I chose it. But we're only actually using half the channels, ironically, because it has enough for 2 ports. So you can see you have a T1 set of channels and an R1 and in and out, but we're not using any of the T2s at all. So if you wanted to, you could have a double RetroNet setup with dual bandwidth serial if you were somehow crazy enough to want that. And then here we have our footprint for the module, our ESP. Hang on, give me a second, I'll check what it is. We have Andrew's big project box here, because each project lives in a box. Actually, this one's cool. It's got paint in it, believe it or not. Paint, adapters, modules, PCBs. A lot of effort actually went into this, I have to admit. It wasn't necessarily that quick old project that I intended. So I have in my box, again, PCBs, which are going to go invisible because they're green. Oh no, they're just the wrong shade of green. So we have the RetroNet PCBs, and we have a module. And I've used a variety of these kind of little modules. They genuinely are the ESP8266 Mod AI Thinker, and these are the ESP12 modules. So they've got the ESP12 variant of antenna on them, which is perfect because if you've never seen a RetroNet inside probably, but that's the PCB for the RetroNet, and they sit just like so. So if you see a RetroNet, you'll see at the front of these ones where the casing is slightly too small. You see that black line? That's the front of the antenna. And it is a double-sided PCB, so you can see that's the actual power regulator there, I believe. But we'll be moving on to the PCB shortly. But the main issue now is the serial port, which we're going to go onto, because the serial port has an issue because it's not quite right, and I don't know exactly why. So the first thing, this is where I need your help at home, is whether or not it should be a male or female. And I'll tell you why. I've got a variety of these sorts of adapters. So if you're using an Atari ST or something like that, you'll be having a DB25. And in fact, I'm going to go. I've got an Atari ST right there. I'm going to see if it's a male or female. Yep, it's a DB25 male. So this is precisely why that. So that's why that's a female on the adapter. So yes, so the RetroNet. The idea was you would hook it up potentially like that. I know that's a bit unwieldy. I'd probably use actually a connecting wire, but that's kind of what you want. In fact, that looks friggin' cool though, right? Right. But the problem is, even if you use it in one of these adapters, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because our RX and TX pins are screwed up. Now, I kindly sent these across to Power Crazy, aka Brian Jones, and he's got a RetroNet. He loves using it, and he's made one of these adapters. And the adapter basically fixes whatever the error is. So he can plug this straight into the back of your piece of hardware, and it works. So he's repaired what's going on there. So Tilo, I see you're saying you want it to be a male connector. The usual RS-232 adapters also sport a male connector. Retro should not be interchange with other RS-232 modules. So yeah, so I guess if you say you think you should have a male connector, so you think that to be honest, that configuration, it seems neat, but it's going to stick out a lot. You want a wire. Are you saying if you use a wire, it would probably be a female on both ends on the wire? Is that correct? Yeah? Is it correct to say that you would have a female connector on the cable, female to female? And do you have a picture? Does anybody have a picture of a modem? Like a US Robotics. US Robotics. Let's see what we can see on a US Robotics modem on the rear. So those were definitely using... Oh, but those are using female connectors, Tilo. Yeah, this console port looks female. I'm guessing this is where the confusion comes from on what this should be, really. For me, it wasn't the gender was the issue, but it's more than the actual pinouts. There was a pinout confusion on this. I think female does look like the correct way. Right. So let's have a look though at what could be wrong. So we're going to get the spec for the RS-232 serial port. Let's fire that up. There's a female to female wire. Here we go. So you've got to be careful when you're looking at this, because it always I get confused with how it describes it. It is this DTE, DCE and DTE, and I don't know if it's connecting equipment to terminating equipment. It's something like that, and it's whether or not the piece of equipment is the boss. Here we go. Data terminal equipment or data terminating equipment. Data circuit terminating equipment. This defines at each device the wires which will be sending and receiving each signal. According to the standard, the male connectors have DTE pin functions and the female connectors have DCE pin functions. Other devices may have any combination of connector gender and pin definitions. Many terminals were manufactured with female connectors but were sold with a cable with male connectors at each end. The terminal with its cable satisfied the recommendations in the standard. So as you can see here, there's lots of scope for interpretation here, but whatever we had on the RetroNet didn't seem to be compatible with what everything else was using. So I'll show you what Brian came up with, and I'm going to use this amazing CAD tool here called Paint. and we're going to try to figure it out from a pin configuration. So he's got, I'm just drawing this adapter he's made. It's, oh no, this paint is awful. By the way, I accidentally somehow managed to load up a different type of paint, and it was something called like Paint 3D. So each of these, by the way, 1, 2, 3, 5, 9 pins. We should be able to do this a bit quicker. We can cut and paste now. Bear with me. I know some of these things seem a bit boring, but you've got to work through them properly. Remember, I always think the V1 was a prototype, and now the V2 is what we want to go into production with, so we don't want to make any more mistakes, because it costs a lot of money to get PCBs made, and then made again, and then get made again, etc. Right, so that's our high quality CAD. I think Microsoft might allow us to copy and paste. Can I flip it? Gah! Put that there, rotate, flip, horizontal. Perfect. Right, so I'm just going to just loosely kind of number these up. That's pin 1 here in this corner, and then that'll be pin 1 in that corner. So I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm going to label it as he's got here. So he's got here RX, TX, should be a ground, but I'm not sure he's got there as a ground, but I'm going to leave that off for now. And then the main configuration on the other side looks like an RX here and a TX there. So we need to figure out what this means to us. Why do I bloody move stuff? Oh, fair enough. I'm getting frustrated with paint. I'm just going to get a multimeter so I can buzz out the last few pins. And here's a handy trick. If you're ever buzzing out connectors and things like that, keep a bit of this breadboard wire with you. So you can always get a bit of an extension. And by the way, this side is male. And then this side is female. If you want to join me on Discord, by the way, I'm just going to give you the link in the chat. Just jump onto Discord and you'll be able to speak directly to everybody. So I'm just going to plug now this into the pin 1 basically of the hang on. Now of the female connector, by the way, this is why everything is so weird and screwy. Pin 1 is here. Pin 1 is definitely that side. Okay, so you can see where if you're using a footprint as well, if you're using a CAD footprint, there's lots of opportunities for it to be a bit weird. So I'm going to go in on pin 1 on the female. I'm going to buzz out the other connections because Brian's got a little drawing on there written. He's written on them what these things are doing, but it's only a few of the pins. I just want to see if any of the others are connected in his adapter. So pin 1's definitely not connected. Pin 2 is the RX. That's going to pin 1, 2, 3, 4 like we see there. The next pin along is going to pin 3. Yeah, it's a TX to TX. Then he's got not connected. I just want to see where's the grounds coming in, or has he got the shells? Nope. Just trying to work out where his ground is. Because of course you can get away with three wires. 3 wires is pretty much how I've wired these up and I'm using them. Ah, okay. So he's got it wired here. Ground. To ground. So that's it. That's the adapter. So if you wanted to do a drawing, you're kind of doing a something like that. So let's have a look now at our diagram we had before inside Eagle. I think Windows will let us do something like that. And see if we can figure out what's going on with our configuration. So we have female port here. Hey Brian! Thank you for joining the stream. We've just been talking about you. Your ears must have been burning. So I've gone through your connector, and please feel free to let me know if I've got something wrong here or not. But that looks like the pinouts that you specified. So I'm just looking at the Eagle CAD at the moment, and I'm going to remove all of the signals we don't actually use, because there's no point keeping them on the board. So if you look here, we have the RS232 in and out, and basically all the other stuff is not even connected. So it probably, oops, tell a lie. Let me just leave the first one in just for 1 second. DTR CTS. I'm thinking that should be fine. I'm just going to do a check here. That's looking okay, actually. There's no errors going on in that board. Hey Tide Techie, yeah, I mean this is the problem with these serials. Yes, it depends on what perspective, if you think of it, the TX and the RX is from the slave unit or from the master unit, right? This is where it gets screwed up. I've seen so many projects over the years using serial comms, which should be the simplest comms, always get the friggin' thing like this wrong in it. And that's why I'm really into other boards now. So you've seen like these Booby Cortexes potentially, which is the sort of new boards, and these use CAN. I'm way happier using CAN transceivers because a differential signal is just a differential signal. It's way harder to screw that up. So this is a SparkFun library part. I'm just trying to remind myself how we actually see how that's wired up. So it's a DB9 serial. Oh, the device was wired for a male plug, not a female. Was that it, Brian? I think you're right. So I'm trying to think. This is how it is currently wired up. What did we decide though? We just had to wire it up for a female, but what would that mean? Is it because the locations of the RX and TX are mirrored? So I'm just going to do a copy here. I think I can just do a clone. Let's do a clone of what we've got, which is that. And in Eagle you have to hold down Control and right click. So that's basically there. So if we're going to work on this as our new thing, you can do pin swaps in Eagle if you can find what the new icon looks like. Pin swap. Pin swap. So you would swap. No. I'm just gate swap we can try. Does that do anything? No. I thought we could just swap the wires over. sometimes it's quicker to go back to basics. Let's just redraw them, right? That's our connector. This way we're going to make sure we're doing it right anyway. So pin 1 goes to pin 5 now. So we're going to use 5, 4, 3, and 1. And let's get some labels going, get some label action. And we're going to name those nets, if I can remember how. So that should be ground. And then there'll be a space, and then there will be RS232 in. RS232 out. And this is basically, I'm leaving this pin in because if you look here, this is an alternative way of getting power into the RetroNet. And I haven't got a version here, but there's a little solder jumper on the PCB, and you could actually just drill a tiny hole and put a bit of solder in, and you could say get power from pin 1. That's what that was for. Right. So Brian, does the footprint now on the left resemble what you think it should look like? That is the question. 'Cause looking at this thing on my head is just this thing on the right's driving my brain mad. Hey McBeam, how's it going? We're just staring and contemplating the this amazing pin swap to see whether or not it's totally complete or whether we just screwed it up in yet another way, another different way. I think to me, Brian, this does look. We're basically going to be mirroring the pins. I mean, that's that. If I recall from our conversation some months ago on this, when you kindly tested out the RetroNets and created a plethora of all these different labels. That's so cool for it. I remember that is basically what we decided. What it was. It's male on the computer end. Yeah, so I'm just going to use this as an example. So that should be the computer end like that. So if you've got an Amstrad Power PC, PPC, you should be able to just plug that straight in. And Brian is next to an Amstrad PPC, and he can tell me if that is the case. So it should just stick out of the back of a retro PC like that. You don't have to do anything. Or if it has a like the Atari ST where it's got a DB25, you could plug that in, and then you could plug that in. Not necessarily you'd want to. I think a short little wire would do the trick. I'd rather make a little cable and have this sitting on the top of the Atari ST, but that's effectively what we're doing here. So I think that does the trick, Brian. I think if I'm going to wait for sign off. So Brian's on the chat here, and I'm going to pull out this chat window somehow. Here we go. There's the chat window. And Brian, I would like you to authorize the change. Just type right here, I approve. I approve of this design change. And then I can move on to getting the board layout done. I can wait. I can wait. Virtual Andrew is waiting for you, Brian.
Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong. Welcome to the back office. Woo! I've got something wrong with my head.
Come on, Brian. I'm asking you to approve it. Approve the change. It's done. You can't have the excuse of having a nap or disappearing. I think by consensus in the chat room, everybody will say yes, that it was implicit that Brian is now happy that it's done. But Tilo, are you going to plug it straight in or are you going to use a wire? Because you can make a wire be any gender you want. But you are forcing all of those people who just want to use adapters like this or plug it straight in to have to use a wire. Okay, let's go straight to board design then. I think we're going to put this to bed now. And you're going to say, well, we don't care if Andrew screwed this up again because he's going to make a bunch of PCBs and it's his problem. Ah, it will be my problem, but it'll also be your problem because then I'll have ages of... Ah, okay, Brian, that was it. That was all we did. Look, I can... I'll show you what we've done again, just so you know. The pin on the right is the old wrong one. Old... and wrong. Old and wrong. Boo. And the one on the left should be good. I do look at this angle thing. I remember you could actually type it's in the CAD package. You can actually type it in on the board layout. Okay, all right, I tell you what, let's just jump straight to the PCB then. And a little teeny tiddler of a PCB it is too. They've gone for a weird grey. Ah. So Brian, this is going to be a bit tricky to see, especially if it won't let me put it. I can get around that. I think I remember. Let me just get the box of bits. I think I remember, Brian. I think I remember what the issue could be. And you're going to like this. Now my memory's really getting jogged by this process. Let's look at a RetroNet, right? You've got the port sits on top of the PCB. The PCB is underneath, yeah? You can see the USB there. So when I look at this PCB and I see the USB, which is on the right, the RetroNet should sit like that, yeah? But now, watch very carefully, boys and girls at home. Watch what happens if you take this connector and you accidentally, or you make the footprint so you mount it that way. Yeah, so the connector is now on the other side of the board, but what does that do to the pins? If I recall, it effectively flips them. It flips them from male to female because you're going from that way to that way. So that's why we thought it was a footprint issue, but it might not be. It's just whether or not you've laid the footprint out for a through-hole component on the wrong side of the board. And there is a number 1 pin there. So all we need to do, I think we pretty much, you had 2 ways of fixing this now. You could have just left the schematic alone and actually just edited the part. So how you can do it in Eagle, you basically can edit the part using a little eye thingy and you just click mirror. Yeah, so mirror means mirror it on the other side of the board. So you could just say fine, just mirror it as if it's on the top of the board and everything will work out. So it is actually mirrored. Let's just double check this now. Now that we can see the board, everything in red is the top of the board. So I'm going to look at the top of the PCB there. And I'm just looking for some USB ports. So we've got a bunch of USB ports here. So when the USB port sits on, it would be upside down. But when I see this, the USB port is the right way round. I'm just getting orientated. Oh yeah, no, that's the way it goes. So that's the top of the board, that side. Yeah, that side there is the top of the PCB. And yuck, we are mounting our socket on the top of the board. But because it's mirrored, it's got mirrored ticked in Eagle, it's designed it for it to be that way round. Aha! So it's leaving me in a quandary now. So Brian, I'm going to now move the PCB just because there's an extents issue in the free version of Eagle. So the reason it's not letting me move anything to where I want is because you can't have something out of bounds on the 0, on the free version. So now we can put the two ports literally next to each other. So again, let's see if pin 1, again it's all a little bit, does it really matter? As long as it's correct when we build it, that's fine, but I'm just curious. So what I'm doing is, I've got this port now, I'm putting a wire into the pin 1. I want to see where pin 1 is. Well, actually I can see. Pin 1 will be the square pin on the new one. So when it's sat on the correct place on top of the board, pin 1 will be where that square that says GND is. So Brian, I hope that's right, sir. It sounds right. And look, I've got loads of retro-netty stuff here. So what that does mean, that means actually I could make, I've got enough parts here to make. We've already got 2 retro nets with the incorrect pin, which is fine if you're going to wire it anyway, make an adapter. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PCBs. We can make 7 retro nets today. And what we can do, if you don't want them in a box, you just want a raw PCB, which let's say it's V1 beta hardware, right? Not going to be in a box. What you can do is literally just mount the socket on the other side of the board that was intended, right? So instead of it being mounted on this side, yeah, you will literally just mount it, and it's perfectly fine to do that electrically. Mount it on the other side like that. The only difference is your USB port will be on the other side for power, and it will work absolutely fine. Great. Now let's finish this. Let's finish this bad boy. Pin 5 on the female socket is ground. That's what Brian's saying now. Pin 5 on the female socket is ground. Ah, Brian, you're absolutely correct. You know why? So look here what we're seeing. We're seeing the original mirrored socket upside down like that, right? But now what we need to do, it's nothing to do with it being female or male. If you think about it, it's being correctly mirrored or unmirrored. So either we're unmirroring the original footprint or we're mirroring our new footprint, right? So watch, when I mirror it, yeah, and then I'm going to have to rotate that, you'll see it'll be as expected. Okay. Yes, exactly. Thai Techie. That's what we've been doing. To be honest, I didn't even know there was an error here because I didn't have any adapters originally, and I just had wires. So I went from my Atari S to my Atari ST, and I'll show you what I use. It's brilliant. I actually just I desoldered from a motherboard a printer port. And then I just used wires to connect it to my RetroNet prototype, basically, and it all worked. And because I did that, I just wasn't paying attention to the pinouts, right? Because you just RX, TX ground. You don't, getting those twisted doesn't even register. So I think, though, looking at this now, though, I think this is pretty much correct if we just get rid of the old footprint and we'll just move the new design, because you can see now that the pins are all flipped over. Ground is on the other side. The ins should line up. The ins do line up, actually, you can see them. The outs are flip mirrored, yes. And then the DCD pin is mirrored. So that's how it should be. So what we're going to do is just jump into the board now. Yeah, I'm going to delete what we just did there. I'm going to delete what we did there. Forgive me. I know we went round the houses, but there is a simpler way. And then on this part, I'm going to click that, and then now I'm going to say take off the mirror. And then I'm going to lift that part, flip it round. Was that what we wanted? Mega confusing. I still don't think that's what we friggin' want, is it? I tell you what. Right, anyway, let's just start ripping up before we get bloody confused again. So rip up now, where is it? Okay, they've changed the icon, that's fine. yeah, exactly, Ty Tucky. That is exactly what it's like. It's been a long day, and now it's like, does this work? Doesn't it work? Is it the right way around? Yes, this is the mirrored part though. That is what we want. Okay, fine. We've decided that. We all agreed. Whatever it is, it's just going to happen. So I'm going to delete the old one now. Boom. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're not in our life anymore. We've made a decision. It's either the right one, the wrong one. We don't know. But it's the bloody decision we're going with. That's it. There. Start again. The worst thing about it is I just spit these friggin' circuits out and I'll do it in like half an hour. And it's the same with coding. If I do like R&D coding, I have to I just don't stop. I have to do it in one sitting. I power through it, get it done. Generally happy with the end result. But debugging something so tedious as this. Ah, where was our footprint? I'm just going to look at the actual PCB because I didn't quite know where we're lined up. Just check our alignment. To be honest, there's not much in it if we put it here or put it here, but I'm just going to go, I want enough clearance. It looks like we were probably somewhere like that to allow for that top trace. Good. Now let's just wrap this bad boy up. So you can see here now we've got a number of traces, and I'm not really happy about doing it, but I'm going to rip them up. Yeah. Okay, so for a laugh, let's see what Auto Router will do. I don't think it's going to do anything for us, but it never hurts to try. In fact, what they've changed the Auto Router. The way it works now, it seems. Do I have to do a right click? Go. Ooh. Optimized. Yeah, bullshit. Look how many signals it hasn't done. Right, let's just rip up. What you got to do then, if you're messing with it. Look, even your mouse disappears in this. Come on, Autodesk, what the hell? I know at home you're probably like looking and you can't see the mouse. I can't see the mouse either. It's got a problem here. What I'm going to do is delete these ground planes if I can see them. Look at the mouse. There's no mouse. It's literally... It's like it's stuck behind that horrible background layer. Let me just change that real quick. User interface. Maybe. No, it should be here. Background. Black. White. Coloured. Sod it. Right. Just ignore that. Just delete. Jared, if you could do me a favour, figure out how to change the background and let me know what's going on with it. And then I'll have a go. Right. I mean, Eagle was bad enough before they decided to change this sort of stuff, but there was just no need for it. Now what we've got is a bunch of through-hole vias here. Oh. Jeez Louise. It's not even letting me delete through-hole vias. It's saying they're a back annotation. They bloody aren't a back annotation because they're not even on the schematic. You. Okay. This is another one. Control Alt F4 F4. Control Alt F4 F4. What's that doing, Brian? No, it didn't do anything. So this is my sort of hesitancy of learning a different CAD package, because look how bad this one is, and it's awful. Imagine having to start again. Well, I did press Control Alt F4 F4, but it didn't do anything. So I'm pretty happy that it didn't now after your reaction. Okay, so it's laid those out and it's put some pretty thin traces. Let's see what it's put them in as. 0.25, and it's probably set to mils. Let's just check what. Ah, oh, come on. Oh, it's set to millimeters. But let's just double check that. So if we went on that wire and we put it in 0.25 millimeters, yeah, that's changed the same. Right, what we can do now then is manually go in and reroute certain things, but oh, that's pretty good too. So this is the DCD. This is the one I was mainly worried about, because this DCD is the one we're overloading as a power. So if you want pin 1 or whatever pin that, pin 5 to be power, you just put a blob of solder over there and then it becomes the new 5-volt line. But you can see that Eagle has actually just pulled that from a net spec somewhere, and it's just put it in as a much thicker trace. So I think we're pretty good to go now then. We can just lay down the copper ground planes. If you can find the bloody mouse. That is a joke. Right, let's put that there. And with your ground planes, just get them around your board any which way. Look, it doesn't matter if they're wonk, to be honest with you. It's not going to put copper down on anything other than the board extents. Where the frig are ya? There you are. Here we go. Good. Let's just get this one slightly higher. So if I do auto route now, what is all of this continue best stuff? Hooray! That's our new board. And the only thing I can see... Yeah, Brian, this is the top view of the PC. Well, you can see the bottom view. Yeah, it's the top and the bottom. So the only thing I would do now then is duplicate, if you can. You see these vias? And if you're very careful, you could put one there. And you could probably put one there. And what you can do, I don't know why that thing just freaks out, but what you'll see, it's flooded in those areas that didn't have any ground plane. Yeah. So I think we're pretty good to go. And what might be nice again, it doesn't cost you anything to add these normally when you're getting your boards made, so looks like they could benefit from a couple of vias here too. So whenever you've got any amount of ground plane that's just not connected to the ground plane underneath, if you can put a through-hole via, just plop one straight in. And in fact, these spec are too high. I need to go and check. The PCB company I use to make them, there's a certain spec. If you make these a certain size, they'll be blind. You don't need a hole through them. They'll just be a blind one. But I think that's it. That's pretty much where we want to be with it all. Last little bit in there. I wonder, how you finish this. You just click end job. Maybe that's not what I've not been doing before. Right, end job. Good. Very final thing then, let's just check the design rules. And you can get from your PCB manufacturer normally, that's okay, because it's a clearance to a silk screen. There's only the one though. Some overlaps though, these are the ones you want to watch out for. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. So these are programming solder jumpers, by the way. So this one's open and this one's shut. Now I haven't tested the reprogramming of the module, but these should technically allow you to reprogram the module. So for example, if I'm building one of these kits myself now, oh sorry, Tired Techie, yeah, I should have moved the routing window, or just removed myself. Hello, myself tiny. Lost my thread there. Yeah, so if I'm making this, and I'm you know, for you guys to play with at home, if I was going to make a reduced set one, I would probably remove all of these components, or at least you see that SJ1. Let's find SJ1 here. So SJ4 has got a link. SJ1 is open. Just want to check SJ4 has got a link. We should put a note for that, because that's a kind of important feature. Nah, how do I change the bloody text now? So SJ4 should be linked in normal operation. So I could remove, really, whatever this is, R3, R4, get rid of those. I could get rid of this reset switch. To be honest, I never use it. It was good for debugging, but really you don't use it. So you could get rid of this 270R and quite an expensive tack switch. Now power, to be honest, you're being fed from a pretty good regulated source. Hang on. You can't get rid of the regulator though, because the module is 3v3. If I am not mistaken, the spec of the module is 3v3, so you always need that little reg in there. And then you're going to use your Max 3232 CSE for doing all the business. So yeah, that works fine. So yeah, there's only a few components I can remove. Also, I'd remove the LED. That's a pain. That LED to fit is annoying, and not only that, you already have an LED on the module. You've got two LEDs on some of those modules, and this LED only illuminates when you've got power. So again, it's kind of a nicety. It was an idea when the case was bigger, and it was going to look like a normal modem with all the LEDs, but it doesn't really matter. So the question is, do I get rid of those parts now? No, I'll leave them. I'll leave them on the board, and just in the bill of materials I'll remove them. So I'll just give manufacturing instructions not to populate those items. In fact, even a USB. Okay. That's true, Brian. Now, what I would like though, I would love. Again, I don't think I'm gonna do it because they're harder to find, but in the future, I'm going to source a footprint for this micro USB that has a through hole. There is a through hole component that exists for that, because these, ever since mini USB and micro USB, they've been the bane of my existence in prototyping to put those on the board by hand. They're so awful. They require a lot of dicking around, and they just don't always work. You put them on and they just don't always work. But they do a through hole variant, and I suspect that's for hobbyists. Tired Techie, yeah, it's not the Max 32323332, it's this module. It's the ESP12D module. And in fact, that's the whole problem, isn't it? That's why we need the Max 3232 CSE, isn't it? To some degree, we're doing a level converter. I think. My brain is a bit addled and frazzled on this one, but yeah, it was part of that. There's reasonings there. There is reasonings. I wouldn't bother putting parts down normally. I tell you what, every single part is costed. So when I'm building this, I'm really aware. You know, so if you're putting down a 50 pence tack switch, right? By the time the customer has to pay, you might have to add an extra £2 or £3, you know, or something. It's costing you a lot, trust me. You've got the price of the switch, you've got the price of the pick and paste they're going to charge you for that. And then not only that, if you've got a button or a switch, then you need a hole in the case, then you need a button cap, then you need engineering, then your mold is expensive. So yeah, every single piece is generally costed. So sometimes I do forget why I did certain things, but that's the reason. Tilo, yeah, you raise a good point about the Max 232 being a interface between the TTL and the RS232 plus minus 12 volts. Now it's a real interesting thing, because a lot of things claim to be RS232 but don't, so they actually don't have the 12 volts thing. So a lot of laptops and things, they'll just work without that, and sometimes adding those bloody things make the thing not work. Now if you're using a Commodore 64, I believe there is a Commodore 64 adapter, you end up having to put in a Max 232 on your Commodore 64 serial adapter, but then also if you think a RetroNet's got a Max 2, you've got two components, and the Max 232, in fact I think the CSE variant is the cheapest one actually. It's an economic variant, but it can be a very expensive chip, and you have to use two of them, and they're cancelling each other out in the design. You can actually just go straight from your module to your Commodore 64. Technically it's the same levels, it's basically TTL CMOS. So this is the irony of these things. So the irony and the tediousness of working with serial. But again, it's a lot simpler than something like USB. If you've never worked on USB, that is an utter bastard. USB is awful, and it needs so much effort. I mean, when you start looking, I've got other chips, microchips that have USB, and this is an ARM one. I mean, you start to look at the complexities. I know it's hard to see now in the little teeny window. Maybe I'll just make myself. I'm big again. There we go. If you look at the complexity of those chips, yeah, you've got a little bit more going on, even though they're small. I mean, it's not much bigger than the actual USB port, but there's a lot more going on there. It gives you a lot more of a routing challenge. And yeah, so if you want to start putting USB comms on stuff, then you have slaves, masters, or hosts and client now, I think it's all called. So imagine having to then make an adapter for your Commodore 64 to be a USB host, and then have it understand what even the concept of serial is. Remember, that's all done generally in software in the kernel. It's bullshit. It's horrible. So, you know, this is the evil we have to live with. But it all works. And I want to show you that chip actually. I'll show you what the Max chip actually looks like. I've got some in my box of tricks here. And they're quite neat. Look at them there. They're teeny. So that's easily smaller than my fingernail, and that's a really lovely package, by the way. If you have any surface mount stuff, look at that pin pitch. You have to really go some just to screw up soldering that thing down. That's the beauty of a chip to go in there. Yeah, and as Tilo's saying, by the way, yeah, if you like he says, you can encounter the real RS232, which might blow up something, but also with that old retro hardware, the Max 232 is acting as a bit of a buffer, right? So even if that old hardware had a freak out and its power supply goes to 50 volts and blows it out, it hopefully won't get into your RetroNet and hopefully won't get into your USB power supply that's powering it. So there's our regulator, and you can see it's not the smallest actually, it's quite good. There are smaller ones and there are definitely bigger ones, but it's somewhere in the middle, so it can dissipate quite a lot of heat and current. Probably won't really get that warm in operation. I don't know though. I should fire up a RetroNet. I've borrowed Jared Rebo, multi-rotor guys in the chat, FLIR unit. You might have seen on Twitter some FLIR pictures. I might do a heat analysis on the RetroNet that's running. So that's it. So as we counted before, just to check the old box of tricks, V1 RetroNets. We're going to put them up for auction. Where do they all go? you have got the lovely brown RetroNet with the kind of retro writing there, and it's got the patina. You can see it looks like it's aged, it's been rubbed. It's the wood grain TV finish edition, and again that's got the RX-TX twister ruler, but that's fine if you're running it on a wire, it's not really a big problem. And you've also got the sexy orangey red, we're going to call it Tangerine Dream, with the nice 8-bit font right there, so you can have that one. We've also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boards, so I could put them together as a kit. If anybody wants to make one as a kit, say I do, because to me I would love that, because I really don't have time to make up the kits. So yeah, you can make that as a kit, and that'll work fine, because all you got to do is put the serial port on the other way round, and all of the pin I/O will just make it up. I'm just going to check the module count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 modules. We got plenty of modules. We've got plenty of modules there. We've got 3 serial ports though. We might run out of serial ports. That's okay. Brian, I've got some of your mail ones you sent me, so we could maybe do a few with mail if that helps anybody either. So, you know, there's a lot of bits there. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, and I've got 6 Max 232 chips, and I have 6 regulators. So I've basically got enough at least to make another 6. And you can even have tack switch if you want one, if you're buying it as a kit. Remember, the RetroNets in the boxes don't have reset switches because they're just pointless. Brian, you're on the channel. Please, Brian, you'll get them done in a day. I could just post them to you right away. If anybody's happy and wants Brian to do it and willing to pay Brian for his efforts, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I've lost my train of thought now. I was rambling along and I've lost my train of thought about that. But yes, that's what I was going to ask you. Brian, you've been using one of these, or at least you played with it a bit. Can you confirm with me that the reset switch, reset button, is just an unnecessary thing? Have you ever had to reset it in operation, ever? And by the way, if you're using RetroNets, they're awesome, because they're powered. If you haven't powered on the USB, they stay active on your Wi-Fi the whole time. So you can actually turn off your old BBC B, Atari, whatever you've got it hooked onto, and then just turn it back on and resume where you left off, still connected to the internet. Yeah, never needed it. That's right. So yeah, that's yeah. ZB, this is called Pinopia, and you've got to move a little worm around these green things, but if you hit the red things, you'll die. I quite like that. Maybe I should invent a game exactly like that. Hang on a minute, what's going on here? Oh, that's ground. Just looking at this wire here looked a bit freaky, didn't it? Yeah, it's okay. It's in the ground plane. Pin IO. Which is the security flaw, Mr. PGT 9999999? We could have that. Could have had the chat there. I wonder if it can stay on top. No. Of course not. But there must be a way. Stay on top. Nope. Oh yeah, by the way, thank you. Thank you for anybody who did the super chat last time. Jared tells me that when you do a money on a super chat, it isn't just to make it go big. Apparently the money is supposed to get to me. So I really thank you for donating the £1 or the $1 or whatever it was last time. I do appreciate that, by the way. I don't know how it gets to me or via what means. But yeah, much appreciated. And Brian's saying here, just to add a note, with the way I found this works, you don't use null modem cable adapters. They don't work. It just needs a straight cable adapter. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Beam. I'm sure I'll get it somewhere. I'll be chasing Google for that. And Brian, yeah, that's great, because it is easier to find a straight cable. And even, I don't know if you, when I tried it with, I got a whole load of null modem adapters, but I couldn't get it working with a null modem adapter either. So whatever they're doing, they're just twisting the RX and TX around, I think. So they don't even work either. Whereas I guess if your straight through cable isn't twisting anything, it's just a one-to-one relationship, maybe it's more lucky. Fried the Max chip with a null modem adapter. That sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Yeah, perfect. So I think we're concluded on RetroNet. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I'm just wondering though, while we're here, guys, and feel free to drop off if you're not into it. I'm wondering if anybody's into a bit of agar.io. What do you think? A bit of Agario. What I'm going to do in another window here, I'm going to set up Agario, and again, you know, I know that you're not all going to be into it, but I'm just going to create a party mode link here, and I'm going to post that in the chat. It's just going to sit here. And oh, Mr. Beam doesn't know what RetroNet is. I'm going to explain that to him while Agario is running here. And maybe I'll just make a little Agario window here, and we can chat, and I'll explain it while playing. Here we go. So RetroNet is an adapter that lets you plug your old retro computers onto bulletin boards and the internet. And it lets you also connect them obviously to your home network. So what I did, oh hi Jared, Fart Office Show. What I did was basically set up a BBS. And you can set it up locally, you can set it up properly so it goes, whoa, out on the internet. And you can then transfer all files and games and things like that to your retro computer. But there's some other sort of benefits there. And the other benefits are that technically you could sort of play multiplayer games. And let me get rid of Eagle, by the way. I think it's affecting my performance. We're done with that. We're done. Right. Yeah, so technically you could play some multiplayer games, old school multiplayer games using these. So you could have a couple of PCs on RetroNet. So RetroNet each side, and they're connected to the same network, and it'll be basically sending the serial, because we think it's talking to a modem, between the two connected units. So there's loads of stuff you could do. So I'm probably going to see if there is a gateway software, and if there isn't a gateway software, I'll just write one. It's not going to be tremendously difficult. It'll probably run in Windows, or if you've got Linux, that'll be really easy to work. So yeah, if anybody's there, come on now, let's join the agar.io. This is the back office show, agar.io RetroNet game, and the object of this game, if you haven't played it, you just move the mouse and the blob will follow the direction your mouse is. Any blobs that are bigger than you will absorb you and try to kill you by absorbing you. Any blobs smaller than you can sort of run into and absorb them, absorb their essential nutty fluids into you. And there are some other keys. Apparently space will let you like split and shoot out. So like that guy's just done there. You're literally, I don't know what that's called in biology, where you kind of go bigger, 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 and then a second one of you pops out, but you can do that. And I think Q or W, one of those other keys, if you push those, actually lets you fire out tiny chunks of yourself, so you can give chunks of yourself to your friends. See those blue things there? Just like that. No! But don't let your mouse cursor go off your play area, because that absolutely canes you. And I'm surprised nobody's joined the Discord yet. If you scroll up, yes, basically me in America. And if you, I'm going to add you as a moderator, Brian. So now you can be a channel boss here because it's moderating you. If you want to join on Discord, anybody can actually join this link right here. And I'll paste it again. And you can actually chat live on the stream. and your voice will come out my speakers and deafen me. But yeah, feel free to join. Right, here we go. Look at that skills there. So I think this could be a good game for RetroNet. It's amazing to think a game as simple as this, though, would probably tax even the most tenacious of retro computers. If you think back in the day, they really, they really are quite underpowered compared to modern day computers. If you, DZ Womble, look at that. You're doing well, sir. We're like a little he split up. Do you want me to absorb you, sir? You were very good last time. You were feeding the back office beast. Oh, let's fire off. Let's get him. Let's get hit. Come on. No. So Brian, if you look in the link up there, and you can feel free to repost the link. There's an agar.io. That's it. Sell mitosis, Mr. PGT. Sell mitosis. No. In fact, I'll copy the link. I wonder if my wife is doing some watching YouTube or something. There you go. Click that link. I've got a bit of lag. Right, Thomas. Thanks for joining, sir. Have a good evening. And keep your I was going to say keep your duck on the mice. There you go. I'm keeping it family friendly there. Contact. What? See you, Theo. Thanks for your help. I hope the next version of RetroNet will be to your liking. But let's talk kits afterwards, sir, and I'll try to sort of send you something. I'm in Germany next week. I can probably get something in the post, so it'll be even cheaper for me. Okay? Have a good night. Jared, why aren't you on Discord, sir? I was gonna try to do the cell mitosis, but I fear that would be a big mistake. Hi Tan. I don't think I'm smart. I really don't. I've just done a lot of things over a lot of years, and it gives the same impression as being smart. But if I was smart, would I have made that mistake on the RxTX lines of a serial port? Who knows? AVE mode. I like AVE. I think that the reason I like AVE when I watch his stuff is because it seems totally normal to me. That is the correct way to behave. You know, every waking moment I have where I'm not working, I'm pulling something apart, mending it or repairing it. And I think you'd have to speak to somebody like my wife, who probably doesn't even know all the stuff I get up to, just how much I do. I'm just continuously messing around. I'm almost tempted to just turn the camera just over there just to show you what I did this afternoon. So this afternoon I basically made wanted to make a power supply for an old arcade machine, and I used a PC power supply. So I made a wire which was an ATX to weird Molex adapter that this thing used, which that was just basic soldering, you know, figuring out pinouts and moving the power thing. But then I discovered this thing needed a certain reset signal. It needed a power on reset, a very specific one. So instead of, I kind of had a quick mess around with a capacitor and a relay and a diode, you know, like just trying to make one manually, and I was just like, sod this for a game of soldiers. Hello, Jared, I can hear an echo here. And what I ended up doing, Jared, I got an echo coming off the Discord, yeah. What I ended up doing was basically taking one of the booby boards and programming up some code on it to let it achieve the same function. But while I was doing that, I managed to not only just get it to do the 1 second delay on the, I think, the pull down it needed, but I managed to change the port. So I had 8 I/O ports. So what I did is, rather than having 8 I/O ports, I switched it to two groups of four inverting, four normal, and every second each new port will turn on or off accordingly. So that way now I've got a very good general power on reset board or software for a booby board that I can use in anything. So that's just dicking around. But that was like just 5 minutes work to do that programming. If you can shift certain things into microcontrollers, it gives you quite a lot of ability very quickly. Yeah, I saw Big Clive's thing. Actually, I saw it on 2 channels. I think I actually saw it. I didn't watch it on Big Clive. I watched it on AVE about Cody's Lab, and I thought that's crazy amazing that a big channel like that can just get so screwed over.
Well, it's down to the automation, isn't it? Because YouTube can't possibly deal with all the copyright strikes, so what they've been doing is just essentially running an automated system. And the problem with that is that if you aren't what they consider a big YouTuber, they don't interact with it at all. And so Cody's Lab, unfortunately, he's just got knocked out, and because he doesn't have any like YouTube contacts, he's screwed basically, even though he hasn't actually done anything.
Well, yeah, this
is just so easy to cause a strike on a person's YouTube channel because YouTube has become the pinnacle of PC.
The weird thing is, though, right, and I'll tell you, this is from my experience of YouTube when I would actually see real people working at YouTube, right? It's a really weird system. So the one thing that will blow your mind, by the way, is that, say there's big YouTube channels that I consider big. So it'd be Techmoan, Ashens, Big Clive, Julian Illett. They're reasonably big channels, right? If you speak to Ashens, Stuart Ashen, he probably, for example, has never seen, say, other channel that you really know well. So let's say he might not know Julian's channel at all, and so you've got YouTubers that you think are really huge. Some of them are really huge. Let's say people with like a million subs in the same party with another YouTuber who's got a million, and they will have never actually interacted together. So if you think on that scale, you've got channels that are that big that people probably even working at YouTube have never heard of. You think, yeah, what is it for the little guy, right? That it's unbelievable.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. But Cody had a few views though, Jared, didn't he?
Yeah, he was doing well, and also like YouTube just recently made it even worse for the little guy. Like you used to be able to monetize straight away, but now you need to get, I think it's 1,000 views or 1,000. I think it's 1,000 views before you can monetize.
Well, what they've said was, if you're under review, yeah, you can't you won't monetize, but they will only do the manual review once you've got like 1,000 views within a 3-day period or something, or whatever it happens to be. Really? The weird thing is, yeah, and this is the weird thing. Mr. PGT. Yeah, it's different circles, but even within the same realms, you often don't get people. It's because people who make content don't necessarily watch YouTube.
I also wonder if perhaps they should do something proportional. If you have a certain amount of reports that are in proportion to the amount of views you have, it will do something. Because at the moment, it seems to be if you get like 3 reports on, let's say, a 200,000 view video, that's just as effective as 3 reports on a 20 view video. And that seems a bit wrong to me.
Well, I'll tell you something that's so weird, right? I could even show you now. Sometimes I have to schedule videos clearly because I make a daily video and I've got nearly 1,000 videos now. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I think I'm a friggin' lunatic. Anyway, that aside, YouTube, while they're even in schedule, before they're actually even gone live, will put those blocks on. Yeah? So on some of mine it says, nope, you can't have ads because we don't think this content's right. So you think, okay, so they're already running the algorithms even when you haven't published. But the weird thing is...
They had a video which they would block.
But yeah, that's the weirdest thing anyway. You don't even know why you've blocked you. But check this out. It says... You can request a manual review, and we'll review it when you've had like 1,000 views or whatever it is, in a certain period. Now, I always click that button because you can sort of schedule it, like it means manually review it, I think, when you're ready, yeah? But what happens normally, within 10 minutes, they'll have said, actually, the video's okay, right? Which means they haven't really done a manual review. They just rely on people to click the button. I think it's to stop bots. Oh, sorry, yes, you can't hear the other chap, can't hear Jared on Discord. I think it's to stop bots from doing it, because it just means a human has to click a button to say, please let me monetize my video. So I would
agree, except take Cody's lab, for example.
But his is a strike, right? His is a different thing. His is a strike. His isn't an ad monetization issue.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily know that for sure. It could be that someone's reported something, because you can get strikes off of monetization.
No,
like, let's say you use copyright music and you do it a few times, you can get a strike from that.
We're not doing very well, guys. We've only got two Agario ships going right now. The back office PCB mitochondria, I want to say, is doing badly. Cells, yeah. These are more like organisms, though. These because a cell.
That's the thing. But yeah, this whole YouTube thing is it's gotten. I think the problem is YouTube has become mainstream, and unfortunately, as a result of going mainstream, it's falling to mainstream pressures. So it's become very PC because of age concerns, because the media went nuts over adverts being shown on videos.
Everything they do is knee-jerk as well. That's the problem. Everything they do is knee-jerk. They just block everything, and the problem is it offers no stability. It's the least. By most definitions, YouTube operates like an employer, yet has no transparency or regulation or anything on how it works. And
yeah, here's an observation that was made on another YouTube video that I found interesting, and that is that YouTube right now operates on a hiring policy of like certain. They call it the minorities. They hire minorities rather than hire based on skill or anything. That's their thing right now, apparently. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And apparently a lot of the people at the top right now are people with, well, I suppose you could say, quote-unquote hipster political agendas.
Yeah.
Or, that sort of thing. Well, I mean, the CEO, for example, is apparently a well-known feminism figure who does a lot in that respect. And she's also been doing dodgy stuff on YouTube, like using YouTube's resources to advertise her YouTube channel, which she makes money from.
Yeah, it's all. Yes, that's the problem with it. It's all very. It's a bit grey, and you know, I think I'll speak to one of the other content creators on Twitter today who's moaning about it, who puts a lot more effort than I do into my videos. They make the really good videos, and they're doing this thing. And you know, when you make a video, for my videos, it's the opposite. I get like 200 views, 100 views if I'm lucky on when the video goes out, and that's from you, the loyal viewers who are watching on maybe daily. And then maybe if I'm lucky, actually those videos get bigger as it goes along, right? Just as more random people click on them, non-subscribers. But most channels work the other way, where they get all of their revenue right away because they'll get like 1,000 views. Or if you look at, I don't know, you know, AVE or whatever, he'll do a video and it might get 10,000 views in the first day. That's where he makes all his income, because if you look, there'll be a curve where it'll just drop down really quickly after that. So when they do this thing where they're doing the demonetizing robots, they basically have prevented you from making money out of your video. And not AV so much, because he just records bullshit like I do. But I mean, I'm talking about like guys who do like loads of graphics and loads. Whoa, you're huge, Brian. Loads of effort, where they might spend 3 weeks making a video and then they've made nothing on it, and it's really unfair.
But also, these algorithms and this thing where they rely on people reporting videos and then demonetizing them. As you say, if they're making all their money in like the first day, in the first few hours, what does having this super strict automated system really do? Because you make any money you make to the point of it being demonetized, and you get to keep that money irrespective of how inflammatory or
what I heard,
or whatever that
I'll tell you
is.
what I heard, right? And I can't remember where I heard it. I was at a conference or something, I don't know. I heard that YouTube is now using the AI to make these decisions, and it's a learning AI, right? So when you get all your video recommendations, all of that stuff, I don't know if it's bullshit or not, but they're saying it is an AI. So what that potentially means is, depending on how that AI is trained or programmed, they have no idea how it works. That could be a...
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It's not running on arbitrary rules like if then, if then, if then.
Wonders, the system as of 2 years ago was considered to be pretty good, pretty tight.
Oh, watcher, sorry, I just ate you. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So what happened? You know, if they like, oh, we're going to implement this AI and it's wonderful, but everyone is complaining, like actual content creators are complaining, then I don't understand, because all they've done is stopped the general public who may not even use YouTube from complaining, and pissed off the content creators who originally, like the majority of people seem somewhat content, and you had people that complain because you always do. And it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. You know, they're I mean, so I watch a YouTube channel called Linus Tech Tips sometimes, and they've got so fed up with what YouTube's doing that they're actually creating their own, essentially, competition to YouTube because of the amount of money grubbing that YouTube does, the amount of silly things they do, like this obsession with changing things every year. I mean, there were so many things that people liked that YouTube just got rid of because they felt like it, or Google, I should say. So, like, originally with your channel, when you went to someone's main channel, they had like a custom image that was the background for their channel, and that was great. Everyone liked that. But then suddenly it was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to remove that because we don't like you customizing your channel. And just little things like that constantly, taking things away from people and not really giving anything more for it. And it's getting kind of annoying with YouTube if that's the case. Like, another thing is, if they say that there's a copyrighted track in your video, then suddenly the entire video's revenue goes to whoever made that song.
No, it goes to whoever claims they own the copyright, which is even worse.
Whoever claims they have the copyright on the song. But that aside, what if you've only got like a 10-second snippet of audio in a video that's 10 minutes long? Like, why should that person get all the revenue for that 10-second snippet of audio?
I've disputed those a few times, and they've gone into like a revenue share, like they split it and all of that.
But that's ridiculous in its own right. People aren't watching the video. People aren't watching the video to listen to the song in the video.
Yeah, but that sort of thing's pretty clear in the law. You know, you use somebody else's work, unless it was a royalty-free thing, and you know it's genuinely going to stay royalty-free. Then you know it could happen.
There's other things. So, like in YouTube, if you do, thanks, Womble, if you do have a little snippet of song in there, YouTube does allow you to remove the entire audio track from the video. That is your option. You know, there's no, oh, you can replace just that bit of music with something from our library. It's either delete the video and re-upload it, or apply some random music track over the whole video, or just delete the audio. And it's just, I don't really understand. It's like they're trying to make it as difficult as possible for you to fix it so that you're more likely to just concede. I don't know. YouTube, as great as it is, it's just getting more and more annoying. Like the other thing that really annoyed me was this intelligent buffering of videos, where it doesn't buffer past a certain amount, and that really annoys me because let's say I want to watch like a 4K video. My internet isn't great. I can't just watch a 4K video, so I need it to buffer. But YouTube, in all their wisdom, goes, no, we're only going to buffer like 3 seconds and then stop. And that really gets me. But
they're the only game in town right now, though. What can you do?
so,
Vimeo is dead.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that the people who are going to make something called Floatplane do it well, because it would be nice to give YouTube some competition.
I'm in one of those happy places where I don't have that many viewers, or I don't rely so much on income from YouTube. But I can imagine it must be very distressing. You know, I can walk away from it, right? Can take it or leave it, but it must be very distressing if you put a lot of effort in, and you say you even make £10,000 a year, 15 off YouTube stuff. That would be quite an additional chunk to your regular income. That, you know, if you lost that could be half your annual income even. Anything that varies that, you know, you'll be living month to month. So if you're paying your rent is £1,000 a month, and all of a sudden YouTube says we're going to give you 20% less for no particular reason, you're going to be, you know, that's going to really screw you over.
So YouTube used to do paid channels where someone could pay a monthly fee to watch a particular channel. And YouTube started this a year ago, and a couple of people switched on to paid channels. And then about a month ago, YouTube declared, "Oh, we're going to discontinue this."
Oh, so it was their sort of Patreon type dealy.
Yeah, and so they basically just stab like anyone who's using the paid channel thing in the back.
No! I tell you what, this is we need to have a strategy if we're playing this game. I think.
By the way, I found that what is this called? Discord is the thing that's causing me a huge amount of lag. It's like it takes chunks of the internet that causes the Agario to freeze slowly.
Really?
Yeah, when I wasn't on your channel, my Agario was great, but the second I joined the channel, it suddenly went every time you talk.
Let's see what we can see. The performance channel. It is losing a lot of CPUs, mine, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it's the CPU so much. I've got a pretty, and so do you. We both got pretty decent CPUs. I doubt it's the CPU.
Well, I'm using 55%, 57% here. Oh yeah, but let's be fair. I'm streaming as well, right? I do apologise, by the way, to anybody who's joined and is joined for the electronics part. That kind of is over, and it's just a kind of a general chit chat. Hey Dan, you'd pay to sub to the back office. How wonderful. And I would let you, but I do have a Patreon. You can do something if you wished.
Well, admittedly, that seems to be the solution, is a Patreon. You load all your videos. And
no, but I feel bad on Patreon though, because you know, it's got limited interaction options on Patreon, and you set these like little tiers and what you're going to do if you reach certain amounts of money, and it's hard to always achieve those. I'm going to do what I said I'd do. For example, I got the build a giant Game Boy, and I definitely am doing that. I've got all the parts I want to do it, but I can't do it right away. But I kind of.
What do you mean by limited interaction? Because with Patreon, you have the comment section like on YouTube.
Yeah, you have comments. Yeah, hi Dan. Yeah, in my description, I've got the Patreon things. Hi, Bean. Yeah, if you gotta go, you gotta go, sir. But thank you so much for watching so far. But regarding Patreon interaction, the app is really awful. And and it just lets you do really basic stuff, and it loses messages. I've lost.
I can't say I've used the app.
It's just awful. It's like I kind of prefer Twitter or any other way you want to speak to me. You know, even on YouTube chat. And then it's like if people are like actually donating money to me as well, it's like, oh well, now what should I do? I mean, I don't know what the expectation is. Is it a job, or do they want me to do anything in particular, or are they just happy just to say, nope, here's $1?
They're just happy to see you.
I think so. I think because I do try to speak to everybody and ask them about that thing, and they're like, nope, don't worry about it. Because you know, some people do the Patreon role in the credits. I've asked a lot of people about that. Do you want me to do the thing? And they're like, no, don't do that. They don't like it. Not that they don't want to be known for it, but it's just tedious, right? But imagine having me have to update that every day for a daily video. But I should do a special Patreon special, and I think I will. Oh, you're going to do Patreon soon. Oh, well, please don't feel obligated. Obliged. I did, and I'm going to check. I don't remember everybody's name. I'm very bad at remembering names, but I was very humbled where someone pledged $85 in 1 month, and it was just too much, right? I was like, no, don't do this. It's too much. I don't feel. I don't know. It makes me feel weird. I don't know. Does Patreon feel like charity though?
I wouldn't say so. It's
maybe that's why I'm considering it a bit like charity, but like Brian said just there, maybe you should just consider it a tip jar, and you know.
Well, I mean, you say that, but you're actually having to do work for something people enjoy, and that is you're being paid for it voluntarily. I mean, it's the best way. The fact that people are voluntarily paying you. I mean, I hate, for instance, to have to pay a TV license should I want to watch one episode of something on the entire of the BBC. It's insane that I should have to pay for a TV license, quite frankly. But let's say I can just pay for that one channel because I voluntarily want to watch that one channel, that one episode. I'd personally be, as a customer or a consumer, a lot happier with that. So I think when people are paying you through Patreon, if anything, it should be, this is great. I'm not forcing people to pay monthly for content that they don't want. They have completely got the choice to do this or not, and they have chosen to do it.
I think what I got to do, Jared, I'm going to do like Big Clive, where I just have a one tier, like a $1 or a whatever you want tier, and I'm going to remove the. It tries to make you do these tier things. If you see some of the other channels, like Nostalgia Nerd or some of the other ones, they've got all these tiers. Like if you pay them X amount, they'll let you talk to them on Twitter or like stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all of the tiers. I don't want tiers. I don't want to it's not an elitist thing.
What if someone wants to pay you more?
No, I don't mind that. You can pay what you like, but I'm not going to set tiers. There's not like you're a silver member, you're a bronze member, you get more of this, you get. I'm not managing the different things so well. It's not like if you give more, I'm not whoring myself out in more ways. Everybody gets the same amount of Andrew. I'm easy that way. And to be honest with you, if anybody wants to talk to me on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, or even Skype if they find me, what do? I always talk to them anyway. It doesn't matter. You can just come on Discord. I'm not gonna go. No, you haven't paid enough. And that's the problem of it. That's that thing where some people won't talk to you when you tweet them because you're not patroning in it.
Well, maybe you should have a booby board tier.
A booby board tier. You can have a free booby board. I don't know. I'm using them up now quite a lot. I'm making all sorts of stuff with. They were built for this purpose to be, I guess, a bit like what an Arduino is being used now, but like a more tech Arduino.
Yeah.
And I as I say, like today, I had a need, and that's the first thing I did. Just grab the board, write some code, and bang, we're done. Yeah, buy one from the shop. You're right, Brian. I do forget that. There is a back office show shop. I don't know if I put that in my description. I probably don't, but maybe I should.
By the way, Andrew.
Yeah.
I have a video for you. I think you would very much enjoy.
That sounds really wrong. Anybody who's watching now, I have to say, Jared doesn't share with me videos that would otherwise be considered dodgy. Brian, fair fight. Are you on the right link here? Are you in the right game link? There is a back office show shop. This is the link. I'm going to paste it in there, Fair Fight. Make sure this is the link you're... oh, sorry. Brian already got there before me.
When you die, Andrew, just have a quick look at that video. Ah.
Where did you send me the link to this video?
On the YouTube comment section, you can see it.
Is this can I show this in stream?
Yeah, it's complete. I better send you nude videos.
Let's have a look then. We'll see what Jared sent me. And oh, a bit of Eurythmics.
But I appreciate the way it's been achieved.
It's killed my chat though.
I love that he calls this the Floppertron.
Oh, it won't go any louder.
It's got a real good amount of bass in it, just. So yeah, if you care about the modification in the next video, you might want to...
Now I can't get back. Say again? Sorry, Jared, I couldn't hear you.
They made a valid point. You might get flagged for having someone else's video.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I'm going to be banned. So if you don't see me on YouTube,
Blame me.
then that's it. That's Jared did it. He killed my channel.
Yeah.
And I've only got like 2,000 subs or something, so I'm not. If those huge channels get disappeared, I'll be like one of those old style secret police Russian hits. No, I just disappear and that's it, as if I'd never existed. So Dan, you say you're making some money from me, are you? How are you doing it? You're just oh right, you're refurbishing old electronics and consoles. Brilliant. Ah, I think this big guy's gonna get me. No, there we go. Yeah, phew. So yeah, what type of consoles are you repairing? Are you doing Nintendos and Commodore 64s? They seem to be very much the flavour of the... Ah, no! Dagnammit. Let's just check the old CPU. I think that's what it is. It's my my cores are too hot. So Jared, how do you overclock this thing? Because if you remember, this was supposed to be super overclockable, and I got that motherboard, which is meant to be the motherboard for this processor for the
you
hardcore.
have two ways to do it. You can do it from the BIOS, or you can do it from the software tool within Windows.
What's the software called?
I think it. I'm trying to remember. I think it's called Afterburner or something.
Is it ATI? AMD? Catalyst?
Catalyst Control Center, I think.
This is where the stream dies because the PC will crash. But I can't. I need more juice for Agario.
More clocks.
I need all of the clocks. But I've got that confusion because of all the different graphics cards and stuff. CPU.
Yeah, Catalyst controllers for the GPU.
CPU overdrive.
Ooh, yeah, okay. Now, generally, if you don't want to blow things up, don't touch the voltages. Now, the easiest way to overclock is to increase the to increase the clock as opposed to anything else. But You might need to upgrade your cooler if you're going to be...
Oh, but do you remember the drama that friggin' water cooler caused me? No, but the cooler I've got now is great. Oh, yeah.
It might not be great enough.
What was that thing called? Do you remember I had that? I had
give auto-tune a try.
What was that thing called? I'm trying to remember what's the name of my power supply because it came with a really good software and a dongle, which I've since unplugged.
No idea.
McCoy's huge. Ludicrous. Yeah, I need ludicrous speed because then my little dude in Agario would be cool. I'm going to go and absorb myself into Watcher because he always does that to me. So I'm going to let him feast on me. There we go, Watcher. I think we should choose somebody and just keep piling into them to make them the hugest. Oh, look, see, it's locked up. No good. There we go. So, what would the objective be then of this electronic PCB consumption game? Would it all be components floating around? So passives would be worth... You accidentally ate McBeam. Where are you though? It's weird because the score table doesn't always show everybody. So Dan the man, tell us how you like to eat your ham. We're waiting. Alright, so there's PCB layout going on in the background, and oh, what, you're just trying to ruin each other's circuits. And if you you get points if you manage to hook up your circuit. So it's really simple circuits like light bulbs and batteries. It could be like Tetris, like Rampart. Do you remember the game Rampart, where you used sort of Tetris blocks to build walls around your base that little guys were attacking? So it could be something kind of similar to that, but in teams, so that you could maybe have people trying to defend it while you're trying to lay down the track. Oh, I like that. That sounds like a really good idea. Pinio. Come on. No. Mine's becoming too laggy.
I'm going to be ejecting from this event, Andrew. So I'll,
No, me too. I've got to go as well. You like your ham in a can? Me too. But so Dan, enjoy your ham in a can, and thank you everybody who has been on the stream. If you came expecting circuits and you didn't get any, I'll just leave this on the screen for you to enjoy. If you're interested in a RetroNet as a kit, let me know. If you're interested in a RetroNet as a made-up thing, like that, made up in a kind of resin thing, maybe unpainted, paint it yourself. You can have a black one, look, they look quite sexy. Or Atari ST Grey, look at that, lovely Atari ST Grey. Just let me know. And yeah, please keep watching the videos, new one every day. And yeah, if you go on Patreon and you give me the appropriate amount, I will twerk for you. That is what I do. That is what I do. That's how I do it. All the best. Good night. And I was going to say God bless, but I'm not really God into that so much. But, you know, get on with your life. Bye-bye.